Theme music. Where is the theme music? Yeah, 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 yeah. Yo, yo, yo. You listen to another. Not yet, not yet, not yet, not yet. Let it breathe. Yeah. Mic check. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Where are we in the world right now? I ain't ready to tell you yet. It's probably the lamest intro I've done so far. Welcome to another episode of Where in the World podcast. I'm your host, Natz, Nathan, Blazin. And where in the world are we right now? East London. It's cloudy. It's a Thursday. And I'm feeling really good. I got a day off here to talk to you guys. Had a funny observation. This theme music kind of sounds like a news broadcast, like dun 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 dun. Like I feel like a news reporter, like a news anchor. So I thought that was kind of funny, but yeah, I don't know. I should probably change the music. Speaking of anchor, if you don't know already, this podcast is being distributed on anchor.fm/ where in the world. If you notice on my desktop feed, you can pretty much view all the streaming platforms on Spotify, and there's a few new contenders that have come up. I'm still trying to get this on Apple Podcasts, so Apple listeners, hold tight. I'm working on it, but right now it's available on Breaker, Google Podcasts, and Pocket Casts. Never heard of the two. Google, I guess it's about time that they set one up. If you prefer this, if you're watching right now, you obviously found me through YouTube. But if you don't know and you're just listening on Spotify, I do put the podcast up in video format, and that's on my YouTube channel, which is / Natz Blazin. Where in the World is obviously an extension of my full brand, and Natz Blazin, me as an artist, as a rapper, I guess. You'll find there are a bunch of good stuff, my vlogs, and the podcasts now as well. So, yeah, look at that. Only 2 episodes so far on this, so we're very in advance. I have a guest today. It's not a physical guest in the room. I'm going to call in to a good friend by the name of Mark Monfort. Here's his LinkedIn. He's a data analytics junkie. And he's a friend that I've met here in London when I first came, and he's left since. So he's back in Sydney, and we're going to call him on Facebook. So I'm going to let him do all the intros about himself and what he's about, and we'll lead straight into the topic and go from there. Let's see if this works. Mark,
Hey man.
how's it going, mate? How are you?
Yeah, good buddy. How are you?
Good, very good. Thanks for tuning in, and welcome to We're in the World podcast. What's happening?
That's okay, man. Happy to be here.
That's good. Looking fresh. You said you just came from the gym.
Yeah, just finished up. It's like just after 7:30 here. So finish work, gym, run, come back home and eat.
Dope, man.
Yeah.
To give the guys an idea, because obviously this podcast is sort of travel based and sort of, we're in the world based. I obviously interview people that have done the expat journey, ecstatic about travel, and also that have done the experience. And you, my friend, a big tick. I'm looking at like future me
Yeah.
possibly, because where in the world are you now? You're obviously in Sydney, but to give the guys
Yeah.
an idea, whereabouts are you tuning in from?
In yeah, moved back to Sydney, was with mum and dad for a little bit.
Sick.
Good Filipino boy.
Yeah,
Come
yeah.
home to Sydney after being away for a couple of years, and yeah, I'm near the city now, Neutral Bay. So
S-
yeah,
That's
good
sick.
spot.
That's cool, man. Look, I wanna backtrack. Obviously, we've caught up a little bit
Mm.
here and there, but the audience won't really know who you are, especially my audience. This being such a new thing for me as well. Um,
Yeah,
we met a year ago, half
yeah,
year and a half ago. This was
yeah.
I came to
There you go.
London February 2018, and I met you
Mm.
soon after. You were like the early days one of the first people I met in the early days when I
Yeah.
started. So it was an exciting time for me, but obviously this was a time for you winding down because you're about to leave, and we'll get to that soon. But
Yeah, sure.
when did you arrive to London?
January. Well, I had two arrivals really because I had a job waiting for me there, and I got to visit my team in October
Yeah.
for 2016. Then I left, so I was just there for 2 weeks. Then
Okay.
I left, and when I came back, it was January 2017. That's when I officially really started. So smack bang middle of winter.
Damn, that's crazy. You got the snow way.
Yeah, a little bit of snow that first year, and then it was more in 2018. But that was fun.
Wait, can I pause? Like, quick
Yeah,
edit. Does this
quick.
feel unnatural?
It does.
It does,
Yeah.
eh? I'm repeating the same things, and I'm like, we're
I
just
don't know.
gonna take it as it is and gonna be natural. I'm gonna tell everyone right now. We've done the podcast already.
Hey, it's fine.
This is the friggin' second take. What you saw just then was a Shakespeare play. If that was
Yeah.
convincing to you guys, if we look like we're professional actors, because I'm like I realize I'm trying to redo what we did yesterday, and I'm like sort of like trying not to laugh because I'm looking at you and I'm asking you questions I asked
Yeah.
yesterday, and you're like,
Dude,
yeah,
I had a
man.
different outfit on. I had a different outfit on
Yeah.
yesterday, you know. So,
You look a bit more fresh because yesterday you were just wearing a hoodie, and now you're like, you know what? I know what to do this time around because
yeah,
two times a charm. But look,
yeah.
we're gonna go straight into it because
All good. All good, man.
we'll do a quick recap. What we talked about yesterday was obviously I met Mark over here just when he was leaving London.
Yeah.
You moved here due to a sponsorship through work,
Yep.
which was cut short. I'll get you to briefly talk on that again because we're doing this again for you guys. And then obviously he's back in Sydney, and I want to share that experience for people that have, curious about making the move. Because a part of this podcast is obviously giving that perspective to someone that's curious and trying to find out what ways to make it to London or to somewhere else, and to show you it's doable. People either have this perception that it's incredibly hard, or they might think it's really really hard, and not realize, and it might be very hard, or when they do it, they realize it's not actually cracked up to what it's supposed to be. Like it's actually quite easy, and the steps to take is quite doable. So if we could just go back quickly,
Yeah.
we touched on it yesterday, but you were offered a role in a startup before your move, which
Yeah.
was early 2000,
Yeah.
mid
So like
2016 age. Just
years, years before the move, man. So I wasn't even thinking about London. In actuality, like the startup I was with, they're in the investment banking space, and they needed a data and technology guy like myself. So I kind of helped them out, and I learned the industry from them. But they, you
crazy.
know, we were in Melbourne, and we traveled to London and New York quite a lot,
Hmm.
with the work that we were doing, because it was mainly global kind of stuff we were focused on rather than stuff in Australia.
Yep.
And it was just kind of tough, like with all the travel for the guys and myself, and we just had to make a move,
It
and
makes sense,
we
eh?
found some sponsorship. We actually wanted New York, and I said this the other day, right?
Yep.
Like we wanted to go to New York, and so we were looking for sponsors there, either to buy us out or to joint venture with us or bring us into what they were doing. And we went to some global places, some well-known names, but it didn't work out with those guys. But it did with a Canadian investment bank who had an operation in London, and they thought that we'd fit really well
Yep.
with their London operation because they were doing technology stuff there. So it's just, it wasn't even something we planned for. We didn't aim for there,
Yeah.
but we just got pointed in that direction. And it's like serendipity, man, because
Crazy.
that's
Yeah, yeah.
wouldn't have happened if all those other dominoes hadn't fallen over.
Into place. Exactly. Was your first
Mm.
choice, I guess not first choice, but were you more inclined towards London, or were you sort of like New York, New York?
I
Because
still wanted New York,
New
man.
York, eh,
Still
yeah,
wanted
yeah,
New
yeah.
York.
It's a lot harder, I
Yeah,
think, to get to New York in general. I think regardless,
yeah.
they don't give out just the normal visa that I have. It's a proper,
There's
you
a
need a,
lottery.
there's a lot of, yeah, I heard about that lottery too.
Yeah.
One
I've got
in,
mates over there. They've done well, but I was probably gonna go over more for work and stuff. So
yeah,
anyway,
that's
let's
my,
go.
that's my dream,
Here's
bro.
the thing, like
New York.
leaving London, and we got to this and stuff. Or maybe we didn't touch on it too much, but leaving London, I didn't fight as much to stay because it wasn't
Yeah,
London that was pulling me there. It was more the type of work, like
yeah,
working in London in the finance industry and stuff, or working in New York, on Wall Street and things like that. That's what I
That
was
is
after,
interesting you say that. Yeah, that's
right?
actually really interesting you say that. So you reckon if you were New York based, you would have fought a lot harder to stay if
It was more the
the
industry.
industry that
Like,
you're in is
yeah,
makes more sense because data
that's it. I couldn't,
analytics, Wall Street.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was finance and data's playing a part of it, and I'm kind of like the perfect
Yeah.
positioned person to kind of capitalize on that. But there just weren't roles in London that would have the sponsorship and were in the industry I wanted to be in. Some roles were outside of the industry,
Yeah.
and I was like, I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? I don't want to do it just for the sake of staying in London.
Be like, what's the point? It's like, what is it? What does this
Mm.
add value to what I'm doing in terms of your career?
Yeah,
I actually really
I'm
want to
hard
touch
on my
on. We
game.
didn't really touch on your career too much yesterday.
That's okay.
But I am interested to know because you are back in Sydney now, and
Yeah,
I guess like this is new to me because I'm pretty much this is all you're exposing me to this world as well.
yeah,
Being that like New York is the hub for the type of work you do, and now you being back in Sydney, do you feel like because you've had that perspective, even with London, it's opened a few more
mm.
doors. And
Oh,
this is what I say to a lot of people. For me, being just in the creative field, I feel like
yeah,
being in Sydney, I felt a bit boxed in. Like that's all I knew, and to make any sort
yeah,
of necessary impact, I felt like it was necessary for me to be at least closer to the action. Like London's a big transit stop for if you look at just musicians, they gotta have London as part of
yeah.
their tour guide.
Tick.
Usually Australia is the last because logistically it's so far.
Yeah.
And it might not even be worthwhile, and to financially they're not really making bank. The cost to bring a show there, that's why our ticket
Mm.
prices are through the roof when an artist comes in Sydney. Do you feel being back in Sydney, it might be a temporary thing for you career wise, or do you see that there potentially is a future for
Yeah.
what you do there as well, or would you benefit
Well,
moving again?
yeah, I hear you, man. I'm not planning on, making any moves anytime soon. Like
Yeah,
I'm back in the industry and stuff I wanted to be in. I'm,
yeah,
I'm in a good role.
that's good.
At a prominent company, so which is great because I get a lot of exposure. And I wouldn't be in this position had I not actually gone over to London.
Yeah,
Had I not had the experience with a startup
yep.
and doing all the things I did. But if the opportunity came up, it'd be hard to say no to. But at the same time, happy where I'm at, like now, settling into Sydney and saving up because housing
Yeah,
prices are just
I know what
through
you
the
mean.
roof,
You got to move back to
right?
mama and
So,
papa's house, bro. Get that home
yeah,
cooked
did,
Filipino
did for a
food.
bit, did for a
You did
bit.
for a bit. Now you're back in the
I thought it
Bay.
was going to be 1 month, 3 month, turn to
Yeah,
five, turn to eight.
that's how it happens,
So
dude.
yeah,
You can't really do much.
that's mom and dad, but I'm out now,
You
so all
got to get
good.
out. I feel like it would be
Yeah,
really hard for me, because like I mentioned the other day, um, my first time ever moving out of home was when I moved to London. So I stayed at my
yeah,
family because
I didn't know that.
that's how I saved up to get a place. Like I had to stay at
Mhm.
home, and even when I got a place, it's like it doesn't make sense me living there. Like just you know, you're gonna go broke. Sydney prices are crazy. But when I did make the
Ridiculous.
jump here, I finally moved out, and I finally got it. Like the sense of you moved out quite early. So remember
Yeah,
you mentioned you were 24 when you moved
24,
out.
25.
I was already in my
Yeah,
30s, dude. A lot of people my age are getting married already and have kids. And I just moved
yeah,
out for the first time. I'm finally learning proper things like
smart.
laundry. And then I realized
That's,
like it's kind
that's
of
knowledge,
necessary. Yeah, it's
knowledge right there,
necessary.
man.
It didn't make sense to me before, but now that I've done it and I've done a real big
Yeah.
jump, I feel it would be very hard for me to move back home. Like yourself, you
My
move
little
back.
brother, my little brother should listen to this,
Yeah.
dude, because like he should stay at home as long. And Pat, if you're out there,
Yeah.
stay at home as long as you can. Save
Yeah.
your money, man. Just do it.
Exactly. I think I'd probably do
Mm.
the same thing as you, dude. If I move back, I'd have a bit of time. Like I'd give myself a couple of months, and then I'd have to
Yeah,
move back out eventually, closer to the city,
yeah.
and do my thing.
Mum's Filipino mum's food, right?
That's how they get you, dude.
Like,
That's how they get you.
yeah,
It's like the temptation. It's
yeah.
like bite the apple.
It's
Here's the
not the,
adobo. Come inside.
exactly. You know,
The room's
I'll go visit
clean.
there on weekends. I go visit there on weekends. I come back with like food and stuff.
Do you get baon,
So
bro? Do you get baon? Baon's lunch in
yeah, man.
Tagalog.
Yeah, Tagalog
That's
Thursdays, baon is lunch. Baon.
baon.
Yeah. In Tagalog anyway.
In Tagalog. Baon is
Yeah.
lunch in Filipino for all those listening in case. That's crazy, dude. What I wanted to touch on a lot of obviously
Yeah.
was your transition into London, and obviously we touched on this once again. how it just
Mm.
it changes you, right? This was your first time moving to London, to the UK, in fact, your first time visiting UK. Same for me.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was great because we crossed paths. We met through Michelle, a mutual
Shout out
friend.
to
Shout
Michelle.
out to Michelle Tran. This was early 2018. A club called Dinorama. If you guys have
Oh
heard,
my
London
God.
people. That was a good time. And
Yeah, man. Good night.
I guess like the analogy you had was you were passing down the torch. You were Thor
Oh yeah.
passing the torch to me, because I was a baby. The whole
Yeah.
world was my oyster. I didn't know what to
It
expect.
was the four of us.
It
It
was a
was the four of us,
yeah.
right?
um, Michelle, Lalisa, and yourself. And the joke
Yeah.
was, because yourself, you met Lalisa that day, so another
Yeah.
Londoner, another Aussie in London. Mark and
Shout out.
Lalisa were leaving. Me and Michelle were just new, and we were basically the token Asian replacements. There could only be one of us.
Yeah.
And you guys left and
Exactly.
did your own thing. Um,
Yeah.
could you touch on your London experience? Just, I guess, like in
Totally.
bulk, man. We touched on it a lot yesterday, but like, coming in and then leaving, the reason why you left, and just, I guess, tips for anyone that's thinking of doing what you did and being sponsored because you are over 30. So Mark didn't get the
Yeah.
normal 2-year visa. He got the proper work visa, which is a lot more
Yeah.
involved.
Well, there were options. There was like a 2 year or a 5 year one, but I guess it was just worth. It was much better to just get the 5 year. The company pays for it and all that. But
Cool.
I think the smartest thing with all this is if you really want to move to London, do it before you're 30. That's
Yeah,
probably the smartest thing
good
to
advice.
do,
Very good advice.
right?
But if you're
Take
not,
write that one down.
write that down. But if you're over 30,
One.
pay attention right now. Mark here is about to drop some knowledge. Break it down,
Well,
bro.
the knowledge was that I kind of got lucky. So I don't know if there's
Hey,
any kind of good advice there.
there is knowledge
You
in
know,
that. Seizing
if
opportunity.
you,
Uh,
well, I would say I did get asked this by mates and stuff after. I'd say that just you got to try to find companies that have offices overseas,
yep.
or a part of
Multinationals.
subsidiaries,
Yep.
multinationals. They're part of a big kind of long chain of where there are offices, overseas in New York or London, wherever it is you want to move, but even back in the Philippines, whatever, right? Like
Absolutely. Yeah.
QBE, for example, working in insurance at QBE,
Yep.
you could go work back in the Philippines because they got an office over there. So there's opportunities and stuff.
I
You
didn't
just got
even
to
know that,
chase it
dude. I
down.
could have went to the Philippines, bro.
Yeah.
My background's insurance.
I had Aussie mates that were like, going back to the Philippines more than I was, knowing more about the country than I did.
That's
Just like,
crazy.
what the hell? I was born there. Jeez. But anyway, no, it was in terms of advice, you'd want to like try to get with companies that do that kind of stuff, and if not, maybe you got to look around. Or also, there's job boards overseas, so you could look at what the job boards are like in the UK. It's a
Yep.
bit harder though because they want to open things up more to UK
Who's there
residents.
first?
But
Yeah. You did
yeah,
mention yesterday also the
mm,
process is if you do apply for a
yeah,
job, they advertise it first if someone else can
yeah,
fit the role and if they can obviously it's more
that's it.
cheaper for them to get someone there as opposed to bringing over.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
something that you had to tackle as well. They had to advertise your role. Was that is that right or
Yeah, they did. It was a new role, so they just wrote it up, but at the same time, they still had to advertise it over in the UK first for like 30 days, and whoever comes through, if that person does have a good fit with the role, they have to interview that person,
yeah,
and you have the potentially, right, to not have that role there
it
anymore.
all hangs
That
in the
could happen,
balance. That could
but
happen, yeah.
I was lucky.
That's the risk as
Yeah,
well. That's
absolutely.
insane. It's funny you mentioned. There's another tip. I
Mm,
realized that these opportunities, I didn't realize they were just right in front of my face. Because it's great that you mentioned this now, but in
mm.
hindsight, now that I look back, I used to work at the insurance firm Aon. So it's an
Oh yeah,
American based. I'm pretty sure it's
I know
American
that.
based.
Yeah,
Big firm, right? But I remember
yeah.
I worked in the little office in Parramatta back home. And they would actually
Mm,
advertise roles like overseas roles like New York office and I just never thought like I never felt like what are the chances that's going to happen? But I did hear of other people in higher positions. It was still a hard process, but if you really
mhm.
wanted it, you can really go for it. And having
Absolutely.
a foot in the door in a multinational company that big, you've already got that
Yeah.
advantage. Sometimes you just don't realize these opportunities are in front of you until you actually push for it. Now,
Yeah, just asking. You just got
asking,
to
just
ask.
ask.
Yeah,
put it in motion, like the plan in motion, if that's something
Yeah.
that you want to do for yourself. Like I know we touched on it yesterday, but I did want people to know, how did you come about when with your role, like in terms, was it offered? Did you find it yourself? If you could just let them know, because we didn't talk about it yesterday, but I'm gonna pretend
That's
like
okay. I kind of, well, the startup I was with, and I'm still, I still talk to these guys a lot.
sick.
5 years ago when I met them, I had maybe 5 years of experience working in an industry called business intelligence, or some people call it data analytics, all
Yeah,
about reporting and, spreadsheets and numbers and charts and graphs, all that kind of stuff,
yeah,
using software to help companies do that. I was a consultant, and through doing that, I met these guys that had some interesting kind of things that they wanted to do. And I wanted to break away and do my own thing. And so I was on holidays in Spain when I said, that's it. I'm going to go back home. I'm going to start up my own company. I'm going to be a consultant.
that
I'm
is
going to grow
sick.
my own
Yeah,
business, hunt for my own food, so to speak.
that's
And
crazy.
so I reached out to the first friendly kind of company that I thought would be interesting. And next thing you know, they said, instead of doing that, why don't you just join
Come on board.
us?
Yeah,
And we can go from there. So shout out to QMG, those guys, Matt and
shout
the team.
outs.
If it wasn't for those guys and learning about the industry and also teaching them the stuff that I knew about technology, I wouldn't be where I got to. So yeah, it was kind of like, just fortuitous. Like I was looking for something, they were looking for something. It just kind of
It
worked
just
out.
happened that
So
way. Yeah.
yeah,
I know I've
yeah,
heard this story and I know I'm smiling like it's the first time I'm hearing it again, but I actually genuinely love hearing that. It's just
yeah,
how things happen the way they are, right? Like you are where you are
no,
supposed to be regardless of the situation, bad or good. You were meant to be there at that time. I know I sound like a mad hippie right now, but just that
no,
you
man.
starting your consultancy firm and then that potential client that just came in through the door and you were able to, obviously your brand, your personal brand, showed a reflection to them that you could be obviously, a good fit for what they're trying to build. Look what it manifested, and you were able to cross over to London and give it a real go, like this whole thing. Like that's something were you anticipating this? Like,
No, 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 no. You don't see that from day one, and that's the thing. Like people look at the moves and all that kind of stuff, and not just for me, but for other things. And I'm sure they go, "Oh, that's really cool." Like either they might say it's really hard work because they get to see the grind, or because they don't see me going out and partying all the time,
yeah,
or they think it's incredibly lucky. And
yeah,
it's ironic, right? Because I think a lot of people that you look at it and you're like, "Oh wow, that guy's incredibly lucky,"
yeah,
but it's like so much work. Like I'm lucky because there was so much hard
yeah.
work before that.
Can I tell you? I have a friend. I don't know if you ever met him. He's a good friend of mine. I won't name
Is
drop
that?
him. He hates it when people say to him, "You're so lucky." Like he's doing the visa
Yeah,
like me, right? Exact same
yeah,
visa.
yeah,
We're traveling every week. It looks Instagram. It looks like the Insta life, right? And
yeah,
sometimes that's tarnished. The influencer life is like it's kind of like it's a bit showy. It's not real for say because you only show the good stuff. And obviously, if you're here, it's gonna be
yeah,
hard to not show that you're doing all this stuff. Like it's just gonna be natural.
yeah.
It's not like I'm gonna go to another country and not post myself or Instagram myself.
Exactly.
But
You got to take good
you're gonna take
photos.
good
Of course.
photos and love it. You're doing. You worked for it. You made the jump, and you're here. Of course, you're gonna
Yeah.
be happy and enjoy what you've made. But the funny thing that he mentions is he hates it when people say you're so lucky, because he almost takes offense in it in a way that you don't see the other side type
Yeah,
thing,
you're spending
like
hard
you're
work.
seeing the
Yeah.
good stuff. And this is what I try to tell people. Like my first year, I posted like crazy every day. I'm just like, yeah, loving
Yeah.
life, and you're ecstatic. You're in another country,
That was great.
but on
I
the
watched it, man.
yeah, yeah, right. But on the
Living
other
life
side,
vicariously through you. So
yeah,
yeah, all good.
vicariously, exactly. That's what happens when people go back home. They live
Yeah.
vicariously through the others. But um, I guess the other side of the coin is it. You don't see the struggle and the anxiety sometimes, the self doubt.
Absolutely.
We talked a lot yesterday when we did the practice podcast of this being in limbo consistently. And I know
Yeah.
you felt that more than anything,
Oh,
being
man.
your job was
Absolutely.
in the balance the whole time. You were
Hmm.
sponsored. I guess you had a good run. You were there for a year. Could you go through like I guess that process, how you felt, I guess learning
Yeah.
about even your job insecurity when it got unstable towards the end. How was that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it got there wasn't even, there were very few little signs of insecurity with the job, but it all just came crashing down at the end. Like in our industry and stuff, Brexit wasn't helping. We had other regulations kind of impacting Europe and dragging down costs. So we were a big cost for the company. And
Yeah,
so because of that,
that
in
makes sense.
April of 2018, in April, they just said that they couldn't continue with the deal
It's
anymore, and
11
basically I
o'clock.
got kind of let go as part of that, along with the business partner, and I was lucky. I got paid out for 3 months.
That's good. Yeah.
So I just got to sit in. I don't know about you, man, but like when I was there, when I first got there, seeing people like sunbathe in
Yeah,
parks,
it's weird. It's
parks,
weird, dude.
right?
It's weird, right?
Like imagine in Sydney, you go to like the park or whatever, you go to Moore Park and you see people sunbathing, and you're like, what? What's going on?
Not even
Centennial
like
Park.
little, yeah, like little public parks in the middle of the city, shoes off.
Yeah,
Like they love taking their
yeah.
shoes off and feeling the grass, and I'm like,
Imagine like Hyde Park, the fountain. If that was in London,
yeah.
people would be swimming in it, in summer because it's humid there
I
sometimes.
never got
So
used to it. It's yeah, it's a funny observation, but yeah, I thought it was weird too, dude.
but I did that. I was like I'd be in the park, sunbathe, not kind of full on,
Shirtless.
shirtless when it was appropriate,
Yeah,
when there's like
yeah.
no one around. But yeah, you just live like a local, and I was just spending time, like I told you the other day. The first month was looking for work for the company,
Yep.
so we were trying to still stay there and join other firms and stuff, or even start up our own thing over
Okay.
there.
This is when you're already
And then
like it ended,
it
but
was
now you
done.
now you're just trying to
So
like park
April,
elsewhere. Yep.
that's it. Early April, we were done, and then like April to May, I was looking for stuff for the company. May to June, it was looking for stuff for myself.
Okay.
And then when that didn't work out, it's like, okay, let's go travel. So I went to Sweden for a bit. I went to Scotland for a bit. I just bummed
Sick.
around London. And I found a job back in Sydney, so I got lucky. But
It all worked out in the end. Hey, we
yeah,
didn't talk
that's
about this
it.
yesterday. How I haven't done Sweden yet. How was that?
Oh, it was fun, man. I was there 3, 4 days.
Yeah.
And only in Stockholm. But yeah, there's so many good
Expensive.
things out there. Like there's Tack rooftop bar. There's a lot of good food. There's a restaurant. I didn't get to go to it, but we really wanted to.
Mm.
I was with a mate. We wanted to go to this place called Meatballs for the People. And
The
if
pun. Meatballs
ever
for the
a
peoples.
Swedish, kind of
Swedish
restaurant,
Swedish.
that's the
Yeah.
place we want to go to.
That's excellent,
Yeah, it
dude.
was good, man. It's good food, good people.
Yeah. It's so good that we can do that. It is a shame you didn't get to travel as much, but at the same time, that wasn't the only travel you did while in London?
No, did Spain, Germany, went to Munich for Oktoberfest, went to Ireland, went to, a couple of places, travel around the UK quite a
Yeah,
bit,
yeah,
going down
yeah.
to Cornwall, going off to Bath to see some old uni mates I haven't seen in a while. It's just all the opportunities,
Yeah,
this.
I know it all too well. That's in a year and a half. And you know how yesterday
Yeah.
you were saying like I didn't get to travel as much as I
Mm,
could have. And that's only because in perspective or in hindsight, because you know potentially how much more you could have done because you were here. But
yeah.
if you flip
At a
it, if
longer
in
term,
a longer
yeah.
term, but if you
Uh-huh.
flip it on the other side, the fact that you did, how many countries is just that you name drop? That's more than five or six or whatever, and you've done that in
Yeah,
a year,
it's about
in a
that.
span, just
Yeah,
casually on a weekend or
yeah,
whatever. How often do
yeah.
you get to do that? Like
Oh,
we could not
and
do that back home.
little bit of Paris. Sorry, not France. We went to France. Went to Annecy as well. So that's like another country.
Like nothing.
Went through Geneva, which is another country. So
Sick.
just all these little things. And also because I was up there, I went to Dubai as
Why
well.
not, eh? Was that
Yeah, why not?
your uh
Because you're up
connecting
there,
flight? Yeah.
Northern Hemisphere.
Oh no,
You know,
you just
in
went for the sake of it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I was seeing someone. I saw someone down there and stuff. But yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Dating life. I was seeing a girl that was in Dubai, and then she moved, and yeah, went for a visit and stuff. So it was just easy. You
Oh.
could just do that. 'Cause
Da-
it's not the
international
other side of the
international
world.
dating over here.
Halfway. Huh?
Mark dates internationally. Mr. Worldwide Pitbull.
That's the worldwide. Yeah.
Now that's cool, man. That's the beauty of moving here, and you were able to do that on a work sponsored visa as well. I got
Yeah,
friends that on the work sponsored, they travel crazy. Some of them weekly. I don't have the energy for that. I got a mate that
I had
literally
mates
goes
like that
every
too.
week. I can't do it.
You,
I like to
hard to
stay
catch up with
longer.
them.
What was that?
It's hard to catch up with them when they're gone every week, you know?
I know. It
Yeah.
got to a point for me because I did the longest stint I did was 5 weeks in a row, which
Hmm.
is not really that much compared to the other guys. But it got to a point that weekdays was my rest days because I'd be so tired from traveling on the weekend. Because it's tiring,
Oh,
right?
no way.
Going to the
Yeah.
airport, catching the flight, finding your hotel, then doing you're non-stop because you obviously you want to make the most of it. When you come back to London, I loved coming back to
Mhm.
London 'cause I'm like, oh, I'm at home. I'd go to work
Yeah.
and then sleep. Like I'm resting midweek, and then the weekends were like jam packed like crazy.
Just as you talk about that, one piece of advice that if anyone does move to London, they should, on their passport, they should get the registered traveller sticker. You got to get that. You got to register for it and pay for it because what it means is that you can skip
The
the
lines,
non-queue queue when you get back into London, which, sometimes I spent an hour in that queue,
Mark.
just waiting.
I'm
And I got in.
so glad that you brought that up, cause I'm gonna debunk that theory real quick. There's been some updates,
Right.
my friend.
All
You've
right.
been away for too long.
I have.
I
Greatly.
had the same thing, and like what Mark said, 100%, it was necessary. Same thing. I'd miss buses cause of
Mm.
the immigration lines. Only a couple months ago they've changed it, and now the Aussie passports can go in through the e-gates. You don't need the freaking sticker no more. And it worked out so well
That's so
because
good.
right when mine expired,
Wow.
they introduced it. So if you go to
Oh man.
immigration in London, at the top, the flags,
Damn.
Australia's up there now. So it was really good you mentioned that because that's really good advice as well.
Well, there you go.
To just to know about that if you go into the
Yeah.
UK and
Just be Aussie.
Other Aussies that might not know it that they're living here. We can go through
Yeah.
the gates, guys. We got that
That's
achievement
really
unlocked.
good. I wish they had that. Just like I wish they had Jollibee when I was still there. We spoke about that yesterday.
Yeah, you know what? You just
Such a
reminded
shame.
me. I kind of wish I bought a bucket just to eat it in front of you right now. I know that's mean, but
Damn. That would not. Yeah.
savage,
That's not fair.
savage. Well, you did mention that
That's
you were
all
gonna
right.
fly all the way here when you could have just went to the Philippines, bro.
Yeah. Or you know what? There's a place out in someone sent me this link. There's a place out in I think Mount Druitt or Rudy Hill.
Okay.
Hello. Filipino. I forget their name, but probably in the link, the comments and stuff here, people will say it, but it's a place that does like Jollibee type
Really?
food.
Is
Yeah,
that like
Fillet place. They
the spaghetti, the Filipino spaghetti,
spaghetti
the
and chicken thing.
palabok, the oh
Yeah.
my God, I'm getting so hungry, dude. I haven't had lunch yet. I might actually make a trip, bro. I'll send you a photo.
What are you gonna get? Oh, you're gonna get.
I might
Yeah, if
get.
you go to Jollibee, vote now if you want. Oh, well, it's not live, right? But like, damn, I'd vote for you to go there. You should do that. You should just like do an episode where you just like eating.
You know what? That's a good idea. I might just get a bunch of like, you know what we should call it in the essence of this podcast because it's we're in the world.
Okay.
You know, there's
Yeah.
at work, they'd make people bring a dish from their country.
Yeah.
How many day? Is that what it is? Multicultural day? Harmony day?
I don't know.
I don't know if it was just my work or that's like a corporate
Maybe it's
thing.
Harmony Day.
Harmony day. Everyone bring a
Hmm.
dish from their native country and then we'll eat it live in this podcast. And you can tune in, Mark.
Sure.
You can like go on the Skype and you
I'll
bring
bring some of
some.
Mum's home cooking. That's how I'll trump. I'll trump it
That's all
all.
you'll be able to eat though, because you're on the other side, so you'll be
Yeah,
eating whatever mom cooked. And you'll
mate,
be
that's
like, "Hey,
it.
Mark,
That's fine. Yeah, we could do that. We could do that.
you know what's a I don't know if you noticed this. I don't know if
What's
this was
that?
like this in your old workplace when you used to work here in London. Did they? I know it was a small team that you had, but were you on the
Mhm.
floor with a lot of the other office workers as well, or were you guys segregated in that sense?
In London, no, we were on the floor. So we had research, we had traders, we had brokers, we had all these different,
And was it all
things
connected? Like,
going
was
on.
there like a network, so
Yeah,
you guys spoke to like communicated with each other?
yeah, you had to. You had to.
This
Yeah, there was a lot of that going on.
It's kind of food related, but I don't know if this was just at the last job I was at. But
Yeah.
did you get people like almost every weekend? There'd just be an email, someone going, bagels from Amsterdam or like cookies
Oh,
from Poland, and every week there'd just be something
yeah,
new. It was so cool. I was like, this doesn't obviously doesn't happen back home, but because of the proximity,
yeah,
everyone just travels. Like everyone just does something. It just became the norm. And I was just in the kitchen every week, like, what's in for today? Was that like
yeah.
at your work as well, dude?
We didn't have it as much, man, but we did something for Australia Day. The first time we got there, I had three Aussies
Oh,
working
really?
with me.
Yeah, yeah.
So, oh, sorry, I was one of three Aussies working there, and yeah, we brought lamingtons and meat
Nice.
pies and stuff for Australia Day.
How did you find Lamingtons in London?
There was a place near St. Paul's that did lamingtons, man. So we just again got lucky, found this place and it was nearby.
Did they mark up the price?
Oh yeah, of course, everything's marked up.
Tim Tams.
Did you have this like when you first got over there, where you look at prices and stuff and you don't realize that, hang on a second, this is pounds,
Dude,
this ain't dollars. I remember
I
paying,
stopped. It killed my life,
yeah,
dude. It killed my
yeah,
life. Like sometimes you go out
what the heck?
for a casual dinner, 20
Mm,
pounds, and that's probably like 35 AU almost, which is
yeah,
like
yeah,
that's a lot for just a lunch. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
for that yeah, it got really bad. I'm really lucky now. My partner, she cooks. So I bring
Oh,
bar
that's
into
good.
work. It saved my life,
Oh
dude.
my
But
God.
like literally one Friday night, and like the culture in Sydney, you do
Hmm.
rounds at the bar.
Hmm.
Like it'll come around, whatever. You do rounds in London, oh, dude, and then you
Yeah,
convert. You're like, oh my god,
don't convert.
I'm probably gonna have to go back to Sydney soon. I'm running out of money, dude.
Yeah,
Just don't
that's
convert
okay.
unless you're on holiday. But if you live here, stop
Mm.
converting. It's
You just got to get used to what it is over there and
you got to
stuff.
get used to what it is. And I
Yeah.
had to start valuing like a tenner. You know, back home, like a fiver or a tenner. It's like almost
Mhm.
loose change. Like here's a fiver.
Yeah,
Let's go.
it
Here,
is.
it's a lot. I have so much more value for money. Like 1 pound.
Yeah,
Like I used to
yeah,
do a little coin jar back home, like $1, $2. Now I put like a
right.
pound jar, and I realize this is a lot of freaking money now. This little jar has almost 50 pounds, which is like $100. It's just, it's insane.
Man,
Crazy, yeah.
that's a lot of Jollibee.
It's a lot of Jollibee. I'm definitely gonna get some Jollibee after this. That's crazy, dude.
You better.
I wanted to try and segue my way into this, but I think I'm just gonna bring it up. But obviously, there was
Sure.
an article you sent me right pretty much after you left already,
Yeah,
and I've got it here because you brought it
yeah,
up
yeah.
yesterday, and I think like because it was at the end of the practice podcast we didn't get to touch on it much, but in the essence of this, I guess your story, dude, like
Mhm.
you coming to London, you getting that opportunity, and it's being in limbo. And in the end, like, there's two ways others can see it. It's like, okay, the journey ended, boo hoo. Or it's like, no, I got to freaking do that. Like, that was
Yeah.
me for a year. I'm blessed to have experienced this. And this article, it actually really hit me. Now, I'm gonna plug your blog here real quick. It's
Go
called
right ahead.
analyticsjunkie.co.uk. And basically, the title, this was posted June 27, 2018, Blessings in Disguise. And it basically just wraps up everything we spoke about yesterday. But just amazing story, dude. Like, the way you see things, and this is what I respected the most, because for me, it being so
Mhm.
new, so much uncertainty, um, I didn't know what to expect. The way that you look at things and the way you, I guess, like the blog says it all. It's inspiring for me, and I think it'd be very inspiring for other people just to, in terms of this whole topic we're saying about seizing opportunities, and it's not always greener on the other side. That's the grass isn't always greener on the other side type of
Ah,
thing. You brought that up
yeah,
yesterday as well. Can you touch on that real quick? Especially,
absolutely.
I'll put up your article here for people to see.
It's we touched on this yesterday, right? Like that whole thing. It's not necessarily the grass is always greener. Like what you think you want that someone else has
Mm,
that you haven't got.
of course.
They're probably looking at that the same kind of way. I think the key is that you just got to find, if you're not happy with what you've got, there's ways that you can kind of deal with it. If you're not happy in 9 to 5, well, maybe, after that, you've got all this time, like sleep later or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, hey, if you got a family, that's cool, deal with that first.
Yeah.
Maybe don't watch TV after work, put some time in. to looking into some other industry. There's so much education out there online. And look, this isn't going to work for everyone,
Yeah,
granted, right? This is not
absolutely.
just easy advice. You just drop it and then people take it and everyone's successful. It doesn't work that way. You just
Exactly.
got to, use this. It's all about education, right? The key piece is that, with people like yourself, and people like what I was in terms of my situation, the one thing that we don't have, as like we're working now and stuff, but you don't have time, right?
Yeah,
And that's probably the most valuable thing that's out there. When you got a lot of time, you can do so much research and look
absolutely.
into things, and that's what this article's about, right? Like there's a lot of like hard work and luck and how I got to the places where I was at, and how something that could be kind of tragic, like some people I know were kicking and screaming to leave,
Yeah,
the UK, to go
yeah,
back to where they were going to. I'm lucky. I was going back to Sydney and stuff. People want to come here.
that's insane.
So, it was, and I was going back into a new role and stuff, and it was just like, it was a blessing in disguise, man. You got to like flip the
You got to
script,
flip the
so to
script
speak.
in this
Look at it from the
perspective.
other way. Everything, it has a silver kind of lining. So that was it. I got involved in startups and stuff, and like people think that, oh, it's all good. You got this company, but most of them fail.
Yeah,
There's in the article a lot of studies. This is from overseas, but like a quarter of startups
I
fail,
read that on your
and
article.
even
People see the glamorous side
yeah,
of startups, that you see the,
that's it.
the social media side, like it's exciting, it's young, it's new. They don't see that. What was the number you put? Like 80 or 90% of them fail pretty much in their first year.
Yeah, I was told it was like 80 to 90% in the first 2 years,
Yeah,
right? And for us, it was like at the 2 year mark that we nearly kind of came crashing down, and we salvaged it by joint venturing with another company. But
crazy.
if we hadn't done that, we would have had to walk away. But the actual numbers is more like 75% of companies that have venture capital backing, they fail, so it's not a guarantee kind of
Yeah.
thing.
I guess the true essence of it, regardless, like, that word, people are sometimes so afraid of failure. That's a big thing, which sort of might hinder people from even pursuing something like that, even
Yeah,
joining a startup, or going back to what you said in terms of perspectives, like you've taken this entire experience as literally as a blessing in disguise, like what you've been able to, like how much it's helped your career, how you've got your job back at home now, and the fact you've been able to go to London. You wouldn't have been able to experience the things that you have back there. That'll be with you forever. And I think
yeah,
that's a great lesson to learn, because even for someone like me, I'm new to it. Like if I had never even made the jump or consider it and failed the many times I've failed, I could really
yeah.
look at it was like, did I waste 2 years of me? I could have just stayed and progressed in my career. I don't know, put down the
You'll
home
die wondering.
repayments. Yeah, exactly. But now I'm like, you know what? It really changes your perspectives on things, especially such a big move like this.
Yeah,
You feel something changes in you when you come back. Well, I don't know about me coming back yet. I haven't come back, but I can see just from experience from you, because these articles are very helpful. Because before I left Sydney, I was just scouring the internet for like this type of content. This podcast right now is just my version of doing it now for people, um,
for
for
others. That's
others,
it.
like passing on
Yeah,
the experience, the knowledge I've had. Because before I moved to Sydney, I couldn't find anything in terms of in the
yeah.
podcast format. All I had was blogs, and I'd be reading how people felt after they had moved. I'm like, what is this experience going to do for me? I don't know. And it's different for everyone, but it's not until you try, and how you take that experience is eventually that's going to be the result. That's what it's going to do for you, and it's going to be different for everyone.
And I guess, for some of the Aussies and stuff that are going to be listening to this, going over there, and if you do get something and say it does get cut short, whether it is the 2 year thing or you have a longer visa like I had and it gets cut short, you got to look at it from the perspective of, well, hey, at least you come back to Sydney, it could be worse. That's
That's a
not
good
a,
point.
yeah,
Yeah, it's not a
it's,
bad thing.
it's, it's not it's not a bad thing, right? Like
It's
the
working.
whole, oh, it could be worse. It's not negative. But actually, it could be worse for so many other things. Like
Yeah,
whether you're moving back to Spain or France or wherever it is in the world that you have to go back to,
yeah,
you had that experience and you kind of come back as a better person from
yeah.
doing that, right?
Absolutely, yeah. The knowledge you receive, like we touched on this quickly yesterday. Now that you've done this, you've moved to London and you've come back to Sydney, and it's like while it was difficult, I'm not gonna play it off like it was so easy, but because you've done
Mm.
it, it's like I could do this again. Like if you got a call
Mhm.
and an offer came for you for New York again, it's not completely off the books. You're like, I know how to maneuver myself. Like I've done this type thing, and I feel the
Yeah.
same way. Like I feel like I could go back to Sydney, but I'm like, oh, I don't know. I might want to go somewhere else again now, kind of thing. You just don't know what the future has planned.
I think you just got to be open to the possibilities,
Open
whether
minded,
it's work and
absolutely.
life or dating or whatever it is. You just got to be open to all the different kind of possibilities. Don't close yourself off necessarily. And, it could work out. But at the same time, like I say that, but I did close myself off to staying there because there were roles
Yep.
and I had mates, wanted me to maybe go into certain roles where it's just like it's not in the industry I wanted to be in.
Yep.
That's one. Two was the pay was nowhere near what I used to get. So I was
Exactly.
just like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't love being in London as much as I do my career and where I
Yeah.
want to, be in the next couple of years. So yeah, that was it.
Well, that's where you sort of got to decide, I guess, because like you said, I guess in the essence of this, because we are just talking about travel and moving, but if you just look at the overall spectrum of just life, for you, I wouldn't say that's closing the door. I think that's you seeing your opportunity in work, because work was your highest priority. The role seemed more um, made more sense. Because like you did mention, London wasn't really enough for you to want to go for that role. So we're gonna encounter so many forks in the road, and
All right,
it's not
yeah,
gonna be black
for
and white.
sure.
It's not gonna be just do I stay in London or not. For me, it could be a lot of things. For you, it could be a lot of things moving forward. One day it could be a
Yeah,
relationship. One day it could be another job. One day it might be another thing, and it's just about assessing. And once again, what you said, being open for opportunity, just sort of seeing what's out there and have an open mind, basically.
that's it.
Have an
You got to
open
be,
mind.
and that you touched on it before a bit, but you're right. There's at the same time there isn't a lot of certain types of content like the stuff that you were looking for. You couldn't really find that
Yeah.
on Google and YouTube and stuff. At the same time, there also is a lot of content potentially for other people.
Yep.
Like for example, what we're doing here, and for other things, if you want to learn about an industry, or if you
Yeah.
want to learn about a country, or if you want that, a lifestyle in different places. There's so much that you can learn on Google, and I feel like you know maybe people don't use it as
As
much.
utilized. Yeah.
And there's a lot of free information out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool, free, interesting courses. Stuff doesn't have to cost this much to get that good advice.
Yeah.
If you put in more work, that's why people charge that because you're lazy,
Yeah.
and not you, but like
I know
people
what you
are
mean. Yeah.
lazy.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
anyway,
There's a lot
could be
of
a business idea out there for someone who wants to get travel advice from Nate. You could,
pennant pending.
yeah, yeah, that's it.
That's really cool, dude. I think
That
we've
could work.
I think we've covered pretty much most things today. Was there anything else you wanted to bring up in this podcast, dude? While I got you here, that's a wealth of knowledge right there for anyone wanting to do this kind of move.
Probably a lot for people for now. And you know what? One little bit of advice
Yep.
I find because I listen to a lot of stuff on YouTube, watch it, and I've got YouTube Premium so that I can just turn off the phone, put it in my pocket, and it still keeps playing.
I didn't know that
So
was a feature, by the way. When you
there
mentioned
you
that, I
go.
was like, dude,
There you go.
this whole time I've been going, YouTube, get your shit together. Why can't we just turn the
Yeah,
screen? I didn't realize that was another feature.
you can do that.
Anyway.
There's Spotifying it, you know what I mean? But so anyway, but you got to pay for that service. I
Yeah.
don't know what it is in pounds. I pay like $14 a month. It's like Netflix here in Aussie. So
Cool.
it's probably like £6.
That's not bad.
But anyway, the cool thing is, right, and this is what I do when I listen to whether it's like someone like talking about stuff, whether it's my industry related things or something else. When I'm trying to learn, I'll just play it at maybe 1.5 or 1.25 or maybe 1.75 speed, depending
Yeah.
on how slow people kind of talk.
Yeah.
And yeah, you find like as long as you can still absorb the content. So for
It's
those who want to,
yeah.
speed things up, make this 1 hour thing like a 30
30
minute
minutes, just
sesh.
get everything all in one go. That's
Yeah,
true though. That's really. I don't know
there
you
you
could do
go,
that on YouTube. That's
right
cool.
there.
Right here, if you're interested,
Yeah,
check it out. YouTube Premium.
that's it.
anyone wanting to reach out to Mark, you can pretty much reach him on
Well, you can get me on LinkedIn,
boom.
or you can look me up, and the link will be
There
there
you are.
somewhere. Or you could look at the blog that we mentioned before, Analytics Junkie, which I don't write on as much anymore, but I explained that in the blog. You can get most of my writing on
LinkedIn, right?
LinkedIn, but I'll probably do both over the next couple of months and stuff. So yeah, check it out.
Heaps cool, man. Hey, thanks heaps for tuning in. I think that one is better content. It wasn't as smooth
Yeah,
because obviously we're trying to redo like doing a second take, but I
of the
think
fake start.
the Shakespeare acting at the beginning, that was
Got
cool.
to give
That
them
was
the
gold.
truth.
Exactly.
The truth shall set you free, man.
Exactly. I couldn't do it, man. I felt so fake, but
Yeah,
now it's real. That's cool.
that's all right.
Thanks again for doing this like twice in a row, dude. Like I'm taking up your
That's right,
time,
man.
but I really appreciate you.
All
It's good
good.
to catch up.
I wanted to share. So excited to hear more about the other kind of things you'll have on here,
Yeah,
and I'm
dude.
happy to come back when you'll have me.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do another catch up again in the near future. Peace out,
Done,
Mark.
man.
Cheers, bro. And enjoy your night,
All right.
man. All right. All right. That's Mark Montfort for you guys. Good friend from Sydney. I'm going to plug myself real quick. If you want to reach me, I am on Instagram, Where in the World Podcast. This is where I post all my updates, clips, pictures from any of the stuff that we talk about on this podcast will appear on that Instagram. Do give us a follow. I'll reply to everything. If there's any topics or any areas in regards to this niche that you want me to cover, do send me a direct message. Better yet, if you want to be heard on the show, come on over to Where in the World, anchor.fm/, Where in the World. There's a send voice message button here, and any questions, send it across, and I'll be sure to answer them live on this podcast. I've got a picture there. Yes, the Where in the World podcast competition is still going. No one has guessed it yet, but that's me underwater. I've given a tip. Should be on my Instagram already. Um, Little video to give you a clue. If someone can guess where I am in the world in that particular picture, I'll give you a shout out. It's a bit of fun, and I'll be able to finally update my podcast artwork and go from there. I'm also on YouTube. You obviously, if you're watching, you can see me here. But Where in the World podcast on YouTube, it's under my artist banner or artist profile, which is youtube.com/Natz Blazin. Subscribe and like. That'll help my channel so much. Thanks, guys. I hope that was okay. It was a bit rocky. I'm not gonna do another third take. I'll feel bad if I get Mark to come back again. Peace.